I am going to share news reports regarding the history of Black churches and education, and also the current events of Black churches and education. And then I will share my views on the subject. Let's start with this article from WPTV entitled, "Hundreds of Florida Congregations Teaching Courses on Black History in Response to State Measures. Faith in Florida creates toolkit for courses. Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in Fort Pierce takes part." This article was posted September 8th, 2023, and it's written by Tori Dunnan. At Friendship Missionary Baptist Church in Fort Pierce, Pastor Kenneth Johnson said he's taking action. "It's not about religion, it's not about the church. This is a matter of presenting history as history has occurred," he said. "We felt a call of action based on the legislature's efforts to deny us the right to teach history as it occurred." He said his congregation is learning Black history through hour-long video classes at the church now. "We are spearheading an effort to educate people," Johnson said. "And for others to sit in seats of power, elected officials to sit in seats of power, and then regulate for us what we can and cannot teach, we felt that was kind of disrespectful and, as I said, condescending. But I'm thankful because it became a call to action and allowed us to do, honestly, what I think we should have been doing all along. We should have never stopped teaching our history." Faith in Florida, a coalition of churches in the state, has a toolkit available now for Black history teachings. Studying is not limited to Zooms, according to Johnson, who also pointed to Bible studies, Sunday school lessons, and sermons. "We know we have hundreds of churches now that are using it, and we expect more to be using it, because there is a real push for it now," Tony Drayton, pastor of St. James Missionary Baptist Church in Riviera Beach, said. Johnson said to teach history now means a return to history of sorts. "Historically, our Black churches have always been centers for information," he said. "Many of our churches, Friendship Missionary Baptist Church included, were once used as the learning place for our communities. When they had no schools, when they had no buildings, they would learn at the church. So now, ironically, history is repeating the need for that to happen again." The lessons at Friendship Missionary Baptist Church on Avenue E will take place on Wednesday nights for the foreseeable future. They hope to add it indefinitely. This news article entitled, "Hidden History, the Black Church and Education" by Janelle Knight. It was posted January 31st, 2020. It says, "When Blacks weren't allowed to worship or learn next to whites, it was churches founded by Blacks that helped fill the gap, and that legacy continues now. The foundation of the Black church has always been about education. Ministers were always making sure people not only heard the word on Sundays, but could read and write about it too. In 1787, upset that they were forced to sit in the back of a church in Philadelphia, a group of Blacks left the United Methodist Church. Richard Allen later forming the African Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia to teach Christian principles and basic education. Hundreds of years later, the Bethel AME Church is continuing that mission on a much larger scale. What they did do was set up schools. They started in church schools, teaching Blacks how to read and to write, and from there, it spiraled into creating universities and higher education institutions," Reverend Brangman said. In Harrisburg at Bethel AME Church, Brangman said, "We want to make sure that everybody knows, especially in our culture, how to read and write, but how to function adequately in our society, and education is the main way to do that." In my community tab, a section where I share my views on different subjects, videos, just any content that I may not make videos about, but are tied to the overall premise of my platform, I discussed what I perceived the future gatherings for our collective, the Black collective, to be like in the Awakening era. And what feels like a full circle experience with the Florida churches speaking about Black history is actually how I perceived what this would entail. I also discussed gatherings to a degree in my video entitled The Era of Awakening. And I just shared what I perceived as prophecy for what the future era of us coming into our truth would look like. So my belief is that as these churches start teaching Black history, it's going to beg the question. And perhaps there's going to be people in those facilities saying, well, thank you for teaching us this, but why is this happening to us? Why does it always have to be Black people that is afflicted by enslavement or discriminatory practices? And who better to, on a full circle basis, preach this knowledge than the spiritual leaders? Because if you know that you're the people of the book, connecting that to this historical theme could be part of that awakening. And I've often posted this throughout my community tab as well, of connecting the dots between having a faith in God, but also knowing who your people are within God. Because we've seen ourselves not even as supporting roles, but just not having a role in history at all, or God at all. The main characters, the people that have been seen as the gods of the universe, apparently are the only people meant to exist. But when you look at how our lives are synonymous to the different scriptures in the Bible, it's not a coincidence. If you will know a tree by its fruit, it's not a coincidence if the scriptures are a sign and wonder, especially the judgments and the bad things that afflict us. It's not a coincidence. So the awakening hopefully is going to happen, but what is the main point that we should remember about this awakening? We're not just realizing that, hey, we're a people that go through bad stuff. It's why those things are happening. It's that it's not a coincidence every single time it's happening. And it's that, wait a minute, it's kind of like the people in the Bible named the Israelites, and why are we so similar to those people? And I hope they come to that knowledge sooner than later, because, well, that's going to be an interesting time. Not just for us, but I think in how that news is accepted by the groups who've spent so much of their generations demonizing us. I'm so excited to see the church taking a stand. What seemed like a bad moment with the banning of our history became something that turned into a blessing. And I am so excited because I feel like we're coming upon something really grand at this season. That is all I have. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more.